Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. We're live here on ESPN Plus. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Ali Moreno, Stuart Robson. And if Hercules Gomez is with us, it means we're only starting with one thing, and that is, of course, Mexico defeating the US by 2-1 to win the Gold Cup in the final last night. It was the perfect start for Mauricio Pochettino's side. Richard would open the scoring, but then Jimenez would get one back. Mexico from then on were the only team really in it, although the US felt they should have had a penalty in the second half for a handball, but in the end, Alvarez's late goal, which initially was ruled out for offside, but in the end, VAR checked it, he was on, and it's Mexico who win by 2-1. Here's Mauricio Pochettino.
I wanted to tell the truth. The truth was that if that happened in the opposite half, in the another box, for sure it's penalty. Because we cannot talk about the rules. You say, is silly penalty? Silly penalty. It's like plenty of penalties that are so silly. Silly, yes. The player was with the knee on the floor. He pushed the hand over the ball. It's not that the hand was on the floor and the ball touched. Okay, all the excuses now, but that was penalty, and maybe 2-1 for us, and maybe we were celebrating the trophy.
Welcome in, Mario Malchiot as well. We'll be hearing from Mario in a moment. Good old Captain Deflecto. Thank goodness for a handball decision which was dodgy against the US, because if you actually had to talk about this game, it was embarrassing, wasn't it, overall?
Yeah, I mean, he spoke about the fans, he spoke about the handball, but he didn't speak about how just utterly dominated they were by the Mexican national team. There was one team on that field, and that was the Mexican national team. Yeah, they scored in the third minute. That's about as good as it got. Because every minute after that, they were chasing shadows. And in fact, they looked quite juvenile at times. You had Diego Luna, Max Arfsten, not being able to coordinate who was supposed to defend who. On the right-hand side, Freeman. You had Sebastian Berhalter, Tyler Adams, and Luca De La Torre all getting dragged out wide, and massive holes in the middle of the field, and Mexico just doing what they wanted at will. They were very fortunate it wasn't more than 2 goals. Very fortunate Mexico wasn't more productive on the night. I saw a lot of different errors. Tim Ream is one of the most experienced players you have, and he goes in, lunges in with his left foot instead of coming in with the right foot. Gives Raul Jimenez, an experienced player, an angle, a space. He roofs it. He didn't speak about that. He spoke about the handball. Now, we could sit here, Dan, and we could have a discussion on whether the handball law should change. If in the future, that should be different. He clearly palms the ball. What we can't do is sit here and say, under the current law, under the current way it's structured, that should not have been called a penalty. I think it's the direct call. We could sit here and say, well, VAR, if they interpret that Cesar Montes is grabbing on a Tim Ream and that's interfering in some way, but now we're just grabbing on just anything we can. So Mauricio Pochettino doesn't say, hey, we were just bad and we were outplayed.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing. It's why I'm quite reluctant to talk about the handball in great detail, because it wasn't the one moment that decided the game. This wasn't a match-defining decision. It was that one team were just so superior to the other, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, Mexico, when they had the ball, looked composed. They looked confident. There was good movement. There was good rotation in their play. When the US had the ball, I'm not quite sure what the game plan was. They had a couple of moments where they played it long over the top, which were balls that the goalkeeper should have dealt with and the centre-half should have dealt with, which they got away with, Mexico. But they tried to play out from the back and didn't do it very well on occasions when Mexico were pressing. And when I remember Pochettino as the good manager at Southampton, the good manager at Spurs, maybe not quite so much at PSG and at Chelsea, he was a manager that liked to press the ball. They played with high intensity. This US team was so defensive and in the end became disorganised, even though they were defending with deep. But as you just said, they didn't understand when there was a rotation who should go with which player. It was a really poor performance. And if this is I know they're going to bring other players in. If this is the best they can do, they've got no chance of getting out the group at the World Cup.
And this is the narrative, isn't it? Yeah, but it wasn't the US's best team, Ali.
Well, that's a choice they made. That's a choice that Pochettino made. That's a choice that some of the headlining players in this group also made. Raul Jimenez played a long season in Europe, did he not? Or did I miss something? He did. And yet, there he was, scoring a goal for Mexico in the Gold Cup final, whereas Christian Pulisic, not so much. Edson Alvarez played a long season with West Ham, did he not? Yes, he did. And there he was, scoring the game winner in the Gold Cup, whereas Christian Pulisic, not so much. And I'm only focusing on Pulisic because he's obviously the big headlining name in this team that wasn't here. But again, this is a choice that Mauricio Pochettino made. And yet it is Mauricio Pochettino that is telling us and reminding us that this was the last opportunity for a game that had pressure on it, for a game that mattered, that wasn't a friendly ahead of the World Cup. And yet you're playing it with guys that most of them will not feature. It's an issue that I have had with this selection process for a while now. I've mentioned it time and time again, and I'll continue to mention it. You win or you lose the Gold Cup, what did you gain if you're Mauricio Pochettino? What did you answer for your team? What are some of the useful answers that you got out of this tournament? Not a whole lot, because you don't know exactly what your team is going to be, given the fact that these are not going to be the players. We've had conversations about Diego Luna and how good he has been in this tournament. And while, yes, he has been outstanding for the group, is he really going to feature in the World Cup? Is he really going to be a starter? And we saw yesterday in a match in which the United States were dominated how his role changed dramatically. In the preview to this match, we said, well, what is Diego Luna going to do for this team in the final? Well, it's difficult to figure out because they're not going to have the ball. And so therefore, he's going to have to spend a whole lot of time defending. We saw that, which then meant that he was no longer effective in the attacking half. This is one of many questions that were not answered. And even if you had gotten those answers from these players will not feature next summer. They'll only feature as squad players, depth players, but not the feature players. And so therefore, what did you gain from this tournament? Not a whole lot.
Mario, your thoughts?
No, I mean, you guys already highlighted. For me, it was the tempo, when Mexico kicked off, they set up straight away. They start pressing. From the first minute, they were there, and they were so focused and so, set in their ways of saying, like, we're really going to make it hard for you guys to come out of the back. I know they wanted to play at the back because they tried to dribble out from the back. But the problem was also, what I also saw is that sometimes when football games are played, especially when it comes to final, you got to set the tone. And when I saw the second half, a tackle of Adams, it was like, what is it, after 20 minutes or something? He set a tone, he tackled, I think it was Alvarez, but it took too long. If you wanna set a tone, and Alvarez is definitely one of the ones that you can set the tone against because he sets the tone for his country. So if you want to do something, you got to do it in the beginning of the game, because in the beginning of the game, the ref doesn't book you really quickly. So you got to set the tone. They didn't do that. They turned up, and in a way, you kind of got you got pushed around in the game. And I know what Pochettino said, because he highlighted the handball, and he said that, but his team was not performing the way they should perform. So even if he would have gotten the handball, it still would have been a hard game for him, because the only moments that he got in the game was either a free kick or if Mexico dropped off. Especially at the end they did that, and after they scored the first goal. But after that it was like, no, I was watching a game and thinking, like, is Mexico just really bullying them?
It's also about the standards that you set as a manager. Javier Aguirre in the press conference ahead of the final was asked, hey, look, if some of these guys get a yellow card or red, now if they get a red card in this final, then there was conversation that they would be suspended for the first game in the World Cup. So what happens? Right. Like, have you had conversations with your players about this? And his response, in a very honest way, said, we don't know what players are going to be in the World Cup. It's a message to the players. You have to earn your way to play in the World Cup. We are a year away from that. I cannot be making decisions a year ahead and project as to what this team is going to be. They have to earn it. Whereas in the case of Mauricio Pochettino, you've already told players that they're going to be part of the World Cup, and that they're going to feature, and that they're going to be starters, and that they're going to be essentially the flag bearers for this group. You're setting a standard in Javier Aguirre in which he's saying this Gold Cup is the most important tournament in the now. Whereas Mauricio Pochettino is saying, this World Cup is an evaluation process, the World Cup. And that's a year from now. It's different standards.
And this is the last competitive game they have until the opening round of matches in the World Cup. Yes?
Yes, but competitive. You ended up playing in this tournament, Trinidad and Tobago.
No, but what I'm saying
Haiti.
is this game in particular.
Yeah.
Brilliant atmosphere, hostile crowd.
Correct.
This is exactly what
Correct.
you want to see. You want to test your players.
But I'll go back to what Ali said. Who are you testing them with? 15 of the 26 are Major League Soccer players receiving their first caps. Literally all those players.
So this has
5
been
appearances.
a complete and utter waste of time.
Utter waste. Maybe he found out that a year's time from now, Tim Ream can't be the center back partner for Chris Richards. Maybe he figured out Tyler Adams needs somebody to help him in the midfield. Maybe he figured out, I really don't know who my 9 is.
So what we're doing is rolling the dice and hoping those players...
Well, that's not what we're doing. That's what U.S. Soccer has done.
That's what Pochettino's doing, isn't it? Rolling the dice and saying, well, let's just...
But he also had to change his tactics throughout the game.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't.
If Mauricio Pochettino, he goes out with a game plan. Now, the game plan wasn't going to work because when they were trying to play out from the back, Mexico were pressing them. Now, you've got a big centre forward and you go long every so often. You go long, but he's isolated. Now, at the start, after about 20 minutes or 15 minutes, Pochettino should have come to the side and said, don't play out from the back. We're going to go long. We'll get Tillman up alongside Adjuman. We'll get the midfield players pushing in. We'll win the knockdowns and we'll play from there. Because USA didn't have the ability or the understanding of how to play out from the back, and they caused themselves all sorts of problems. So that comes down to a manager. At times, you go away from your principle and say, this is the only way we're going to compete in this game. And he didn't do that.
So what next? What happens here?
Well,
in this life of the next year, next year is just going to be blah blah blah.
So I'm going to put this more on the federation than Pochettino, because if you look at what Mauricio Pochettino has had to work with since he got here in October, you look at every single camp he's had at least 5 to 6 starting players not available for whatever reason. For whatever reason, not available. In this one right here, we can go with the Club World Cup. Christian Pulisic doesn't want to come. There are realistically 9 to 10 players that could be starters not available here. Would they have beaten Mexico? I don't know. Would they have, whatever the case may be, they would have done better. I know that. You would have felt a bit more going into this game. He doesn't know who those players are. He has no idea what a Christian Pulisic, with a Giovanni Reina, with a Weston McKennie, with a Yunus Musa, with an Anthony Robinson, a Serginho Dest. He has no idea what that looks like. He has no idea what that looks like.
I've known those names for a while. That's quite funny, isn't it? You're still talking about Serginho Dest.
Why wouldn't we still be talking about Serginho Dest?
Because he doesn't play anymore.
But that's the thing. When
we've got these big names like Gio Reyna. I feel like we're 4 years ago. And since Berhalter took over, and since obviously you've got Pochettino coming,
you went from those names. You went from those names and those ceilings to a Max Arston.
Yes, but the problem is, here's the thing: those names
who are not going to be anywhere near the World Cup.
Anything.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They're not going to be anywhere near.
It doesn't mean anything to anyone in Europe anymore.
No,
he is irrelevant
in Europe. But for the U.S. men's national team, he is very relevant.
But
that is the problem.
That's a massive
problem.
So
if you can't have him to evaluate him, that's the issue.
Mexico would come in, but it's okay because we're going to have Gio Reyna, we're going to have Serginho Dest.
Nobody's saying it's okay, but you have to compete with the best players. But that is an improvement. That is an improvement over Mark Alston.
That's an improvement where they haven't got teams, they're not playing.
Okay, forget Gio Reyna, forget those players if you want. There's a Joe Scally, there's an Austin Trusty, there's a Tanner Tessman, there's a Boosie. There's players who play at a high level in Europe who aren't here for whatever reason. And he went with players that are going to be nowhere near the picture 11 months from now. That's the issue.
I think you're hanging your hat on players that aren't going to bring much more than what we saw already yesterday.
You think that's the case?
100%.
You think those players wouldn't bring much more than what you saw?
100%, because when we've seen them play,
I think you're wrong.
Over the last 4 years, what have we seen?
I think you're wrong.
Yeah, this is it.
You saw this the last 4 years?
No, what I'm saying is, what have we seen improve from the U.S. men's national team? From there's all these players in
that's
Europe.
why you can't go back to what you already have. You have literally 30 players in a pool of Europe that you can choose from, and you go with inexperienced players in this tournament, and now you're going to complain about what you saw.
Here's the problem I have when I speak to people about the US men's national team, is that Europe is some sort of holy grail. That because you're in Europe, magically you're an amazing player. Yet we've seen these players on the international stage and indeed on the domestic stage, and they're just not.
Yeah, and if you want evidence of that, go back to last year's Copa America. If you want evidence of that, go back to the CONCACAF Nations League, in which a lot of these guys were playing.
Still a lot of players missing. Still a lot of players missing.
Well, Hercules, I don't think the argument of a lot of players missing carries a whole lot of weight unless it's Lionel Messi walking through that door.
Because there's no Lionel Messi, that's why it's important.
Okay, but my point is, Herc, and I think we can agree that in Copa America, they had a lot of those players available.
Sure, but can we agree Copa America is circumstantial?
No, but it's not circumstantial because they were eliminated by Panama.
Because of a red card in the first half. I mean, and we could sit here, we could debate.
What about the other games in that?
But what I'm trying to tell you.
What about the other games in that group?
Did you expect them to beat Uruguay?
Okay, then what do we expect them to do in a World Cup?
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell. That's what I'm trying to tell you, because there is no Lionel Messi. Because you can't depend on one player. You need these players. As bad as you guys think they are, you need these players.
No, it's not as bad as I think they are. It's as bad as they've been playing.
You still need these players because they're the best you have.
I'm not saying that you don't need them, but you've had them and it hasn't been all that successful. Can we agree on that?
Sure.
Okay, is that a fair statement that those guys have been available and they haven't, when they have been available, have they achieved the levels that we were expecting and that you were expecting?
What
because if
percentage do you think they get? Sorry.
If there was,
I expected more.
If there was somebody in this panel or anywhere around here that called this the golden generation, was you, it wasn't me.
And I asked them to show me more.
Okay, and that's exactly what I'm asking.
Yes.
And have they done that?
But what I'm saying, Ali, is do you think what was called up? No, and I'm the first one to tell you, but do you think what was called up in this Gold Cup is better than that?
Hey, Hercules, I just told you that this was, in using Dan's words, a waste of time because you didn't really get anything out of this.
Yes.
Other than raising the trophy, which you didn't do, you got nothing out of this because you got no answers, definitive answers as to what this team is going to be next summer.
An agreement.
Mario?
Yeah, but Ali, don't you think that, okay, Pochettino is the coach. He watches this game. I totally agree. Maybe they didn't perform to the standards that you would like them to be, right? Because they're gonna host the World Cup, and people are gonna go there and expect the United States at least to be part of the show. Let's say it like this. But what the key thing is now, Pochettino have seen his team. He has seen them perform because he came in September. And now he brings them to a final. He knows what his team is now. Okay, in the final, they didn't turn up the way they wanted it to be. So I think the only way for United to have a chance and do something that is relevant is they have to build as a team. It will not happen as an individual. Because why I say that, if you look at the game against Mexico, every second ball was almost not for them. How can you play against, you turn up for the game, you want to compete in the middle of the park. When you go long and the ball drops in the middle, you gotta be compact. They were wide open and every second ball was from Mexico. You cannot play football like that. So if they're gonna play the World Cup, they better be really compact, and he has to build his team because this is the way Pochettino is known for. When you played against Spurs sometimes, it's really tight. He was good at that. He built a certain system and they will play from that. And if you watch United States right now, it is not a team that is playing football the way it's supposed to be. So I think that is the biggest problem now. So they have to build that first. And after that, of course, they miss some names. And I totally understand. Yeah, of course. And we cannot say like, okay, I heard what Dan said for like the international players, when they go abroad and everything, they come back. But they add some experience to the game. And they just have to make sure, because you have to remember, some are abroad, some are local. And you have to make a team out of that. And I think at the moment, that is the biggest fight I think the United States has.
And this is something,
to
obviously,
build a team, and it's not a team at the moment.
Sorry, Mario, this is something that Tyler Adams brought up, wasn't it? After the game, talking about and reflecting on the tournament. This is his reflections. I think the attitude has to translate right where I think Mauricio just probably won't pull people in. Because the culture that we have, it doesn't matter who you are. If it's guys here that played well, if it's the guys coming back into the group, if you're coming back from injury, just whatever it is, the culture and the emotion is the first thing that he wants to see. And I think that's going to lead to positive results. What does that mean between now and the start of the World Cup, Robbo?
Well, he's talking about the culture and all that sort of stuff. United States will only do well if they play a dynamic game and they've got great enthusiasm and they play on the front foot, in my view. They can't try and play out from that. It's got to be a more basic game plan. That was what Pochettino's got to do. They've got to run people off the park. That's what, when United States were a good side, they ran people off the park. They used their energy. They were well organised. That's the only way that United States are going to do well. The players coming back, they might improve it by 5, 10%. That was a question I was going to ask you, how much you think they'd be improved by in terms of percentage when they come back. But it's going to be the game plan, it's going to be the energy, it's going to be the motivation. That's the only way they're going to get out their group.
And can he do that? Can Pochettino do that? When he doesn't see them now for a year?
He's going to have to. I mean, you're talking about, he's still going to play friendly games when he's going to have to, but that's when you have to do it. If you look at all the teams that have ever played at home, they don't play competitive games for a year, and they have to make the games competitive. They have to play at their very best. They have to get the game plan right and try 1 or 2 different things. That's what managers have done. Terry Venables did it brilliantly when he was the England manager.
It's just amazing that we're sitting here 2025 and we're asking the U.S. men's national team to do what for decades the U.S. men's national team has always done. To be pragmatic, to be difficult to play against, fast in transition, to pick your moments, to be a difficult team, to have that fight, that spirit, that culture. Here we are with more players in Europe than the program has ever had, and you're asking them to at least have that, and you've got the captain of the team saying, hey, who it looks to me is trying to play peacemaker, Mauricio Pochettino just wants to see this, sending messages in the media. I can't believe we're here. I really can't believe we're here. After the World Cup 2018, what wasn't for the U.S. men's national team, to see these players gifted call-ups, gifted these opportunities where they got rid of the Josie Altidores, where they got rid of the Michael Bradleys, they got rid of the Tim Howards, all those players. Let these guys fail. Let them make their mistakes, but let them grow. And here we are having this talk about, they need to come back to that, to the fight, to the culture. I'm flabbergasted. I really don't know what to say.
Yeah, again, Herc, you come in and I start shouting at you, and I apologise.
You shout
I
a
think
lot
it's
at
because
me.
I've seen you host Football Americas, and I'm feeling a little intimidated. So it just comes out aggressive, and I'd like to apologise dearly for that.
Well, that's intimidating.
If you would like to make any comment on this, by the way, what was the? Did you lose a bet?
No. You know what?
You made this choice.
I made this shirt. I should have worn it because I know you like that shirt.
Do I?
Yes, you do.
When?
Yes, you do.
What do you think it would take for me to wear something like that?
Who's our German correspondent? Well,
That's Archie Rintot.
Archie Rintot.
Oh, it's Archie!
That's Archie.
You don't like the shirt?
I love it, Herc.
Thank
I
you.
love it very much. Whatever you say.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Just a
Mario, help me
reminder.
out there. Come on.
Football America's
Not even Mario can help you with that.
live yesterday. And you can check out Herc, Yanis, and Casey breaking it all down. That is available now on ESPN+. And just a reminder, plenty of content over on our YouTube channel. Be sure to go to ESPN FC and subscribe. So then the semi-final lineup is set for the Club World Cup. Tomorrow, Tuesday, sees Fluminense take on Chelsea at the MetLife Stadium. That is at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then 24 hours later, PSG take on Real Madrid for a place in this weekend's final at stake. Chelsea go into the clash against Fluminense very much as favourites, although the Brazilians have proved certainly to be very much the underdogs who have shone so far in this tournament. It'll be a romantic story if the Brazilians indeed make it through to the final to take on one of the big boys, be it PSG or Real Madrid. But for the moment, our attention is very much on the Brazilian side against Chelsea. João Pedro, of course, has joined the Blues, and this is what he had to say ahead of the game.
Every player have a different style to play, and I think the lab have one, Nicolas Jackson, another one. I have my way, and I think this is just gonna be a good way for Chelsea, you know.
And do you feel like three top players competing against each other, it would be difficult for someone to really make their mark in the team?
I think who bring more good things to the team gonna play. I think everyone need to work hard in the end. Enzo decides.
Mark Ogden is with us. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the studio.
You're going to be shouted at as well.
Remember?
Bit of a costume change there. Yeah, I've been here before, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
A while ago.
You obviously made lasting memories.
Yes.
Mario with us as well. Let's start off, though, with Alexis, who, of course, has been literally all around the country for the Club World Cup. New York will be your final stop, Alexis, for these two semi-finals and the final. Let's focus, shall we, on Chelsea? We heard you there speaking to João Pedro. What's the general vibe within the Chelsea camp ahead of this tie?
Yeah, Dan, honestly, it's a pretty good vibe inside the Chelsea camp. I think they've just felt that they've been slipping under the radar. Everyone has been concentrating on some of the bigger teams like PSG, like Real Madrid, of course, the teams that are very well supported from South America, which includes Fluminense. But I think everyone's just kind of wised up now and said, oh, wow, Chelsea are in a semi-final. They could potentially be one of the favorites. They've avoided the other side of the draw that has PSG and Real Madrid. But it was good to catch up with some of the players today. We also spoke to Moises Caicedo, who did tell us that they all feel very confident. They do feel like they can win this title. They are taking it seriously. And it was great to hear from João Pedro there, because I know, of course, you guys were speaking on the show once his signing was announced, once Liam Delap's signing was announced. And I know you were asking Augie, what on earth is Chelsea doing? We know that they have so many different signings. They have a very, very little squad, but they still don't have that perfect out-and-out 20-goal-a-season striker, which is something that even plagued the man you were just talking about in the second segment before, Mauricio Pochettino, when he was Chelsea manager, you talk about Nicholas Jackson, whether he's the right one, Nkunku as well, who was brought in by Pochettino, and Pochettino halfway through his tenure had to talk about how, look, he's just not the same player because of injuries that he saw at Leipzig. And now in comes two players there, Joao Pedro and, of course, Liam Delap. We've liked what we've seen from them, but I loved what I heard from Joao Pedro. He spoke about how he was embracing the competition there at Chelsea, how he feels like he has a little bit more of a physical nature, that South American football style that he told us in Portuguese that he feels like could set him apart from the usual candidates that we do see at Chelsea. He also said that he chose to come to Chelsea because he wanted to win trophies, and he also felt that playing at a club like Chelsea could probably put him in a good position to being called up to the Brazil national team a year away from the World Cup. So if I'm Enzo Maresca, he's saying all the right things here, and he's already pretty much impressed a lot of people for Chelsea with his physicality, but he is prone to a card or two. So probably if he can find that balance and, of course, score the goals. Chelsea haven't had anybody apart from Cole Palmer, but a striker, an out-and-out striker, to score 20 or more goals a season since I think Diego Costa did it back in 2017. So this is going to be an interesting competition for that striker position.
I'm impressed that they've signed him. I think he will be a good player for them, and he doesn't always have to, if you're saying, is it one or the other? He doesn't always have to play up front. He can play in the number 10 role. He can play from a slightly wider position if they want to change their system slightly. So I think it's a good signing, and I think his style of play will suit Chelsea more than at the moment I see Delap.
Mario, how excited are you for this game? Are you going to be full Chelsea strip, edge of your seat on the couch watching this semi-final?
Oh, I got my shirt out already, but
yes.
I will have to knock the dust off, man. I have to knock the dust off then. I cannot with them on. No, I'm excited. Of course, they got so far, and I think how they build the setup, you understand what they can achieve if they win the final. What is it, 153 million they're winning. So financially, they're looking very good, and they spend the money, and I think that's one of the goals. But if you look at the striker, Pedro, like what you guys already talked about, his goal was very simple. I come to Chelsea, I want to be a player that is respected and being chosen for my national team. Now he's going to play a game. If he starts tomorrow, he plays against Silva. He said it himself. He's one of the legendary players. And he said, I like him, but I want to perform. And the way he looked out of his eyes and the way he was talking to the journalists, this talks about a player that likes competition and still feels he will be the better one of both of them, like Jackson. And, like whoever comes his way, I feel like he's comfortable in entering into that battle. And that's why I like that in football, because you cannot be scared of battles. You have to go at them.
What's going to happen to Nico Jackson? They want rid, surely.
They need to get rid of some players because they've got so many players that aren't going to play, and they need to, I won't say balance the books, but this fine that UEFA hit them with last week, which they kind of wiped out by winning on Friday. But Jackson isn't going to play. And I think, Mario's right that Joao Pedro does seem to be the more finished article. Delap, they've still got a lot to learn, I think, and having him around means that it's easy for Delap to bed in. But Delap turned down and moved to Manchester United because he wanted to play at Chelsea. Well, he might not play at Chelsea, so he'll be the second choice, I think, behind Joao Pedro. Jackson, he had a good season last year. He scored a lot of goals. He scored more goals than you think his ability would actually deliver. He always finds a way, makes things happen. But I think he would be a player that they would let go because they have to bring some money in from somewhere, and they've got a lot of players.
Yep.
Raheem Sterling, Ben Chilwell, all these players that people forget about, they have to get rid of as well. So it could be a busy summer on the way out at Chelsea as well as the way in.
Alexis, quite the opposite to Mark. I tell you who's brought some life very much to this tournament is, of course, the Brazilian teams. Fluminense, of course, the last man standing. You can knock this tournament, and of course we have on this show, but the Brazilian showing has been fantastic, hasn't it?
You have knocked this tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. The Brazilians definitely have been the other highlights, as well as the Argentinian fans, and we expect them to absolutely pile into the stadium tomorrow. Unfortunately, I won't be there because I will be in studio getting to hang out with the boys. But look, we even got to hear a little bit from the Fluminense camp, and they are very confident and have no fear going up against Chelsea. They say they play a style of football that I'm sure Ale can translate for you, but it's called the le toca y me voy. Like, I touch it and then I go. They're not going to pretty much let it easy for Chelsea. They're going to be quickly passing that ball, and they said that they feel like their pace, they can also get and exploit Chelsea as well and probably get them on the counter-attack. They have no problem being compact in the back and soaking up pressure. They said they relish that challenge. They really are up for this, and they have a certain Thiago Silva who knows Chelsea very, very well. Of course, he respects his former club, but I'm pretty sure he'll be riling the Fluminense squad up in that dressing room to go after the European Chelsea club.
Could have got a translation from me, but she went for you, Anne.
And she didn't even let me translate it. She said it and then translated herself.
Just in case you got it wrong.
Very selfish. Look, Fluminense, they're literally, and I mean literally, playing with house money already.
Yeah.
They're not expected to be at this point of the competition. And every time you advance, and we have been reminded of it every time that you watch a game, this game is worth this many millions. Okay, well, and for Fluminense, all those millions count for something. All those millions are important. All those millions change the trajectory of the club locally in Brazil. And so here they are, again, playing with house money, a dangerous team because they know exactly who they are and what they are and how they go about winning games. I don't think you can say that about Chelsea all the time. Consistency with Chelsea is a problem. I don't think consistency is a problem with Fluminense. Now, talent level, potential, higher ceiling, I think you go Chelsea. But Fluminense, they're going to be organized. They'll absorb pressure. If Chelsea lose the ball in a bad area, they have proven in this tournament, Fluminense has, that they have enough in the attack to expose frailties for Chelsea defensively. Having said that, I'm picking Chelsea.
Not meaning to be negative about this tournament, but just slightly for a moment.
Well, kind of.
Why is this game at 3 in the afternoon in July at the MetLife?
To suit the European TV audience. It's not.
Who aren't watching?
Well, no, they're not watching, to be honest, but that is where the money is supposedly for the World Cup next year, the broadcast rights. That's where the big football population is apparently, and we know it's not, but that's where it's led by money, it's led by influence. Now, you're right, 3 o'clock in the afternoon in New Jersey, who's going to be there? Fluminense will help because they've got a big following in the city, but Chelsea, the same on Wednesday as well, and the same for the final. It's just the wrong time, I think, for a game that needs to be. Let's not talk about the heat as well, but obviously playing in the evening will help the occasion as well. So it does feel this competition that's been thrown together at the last minute, and it's been.
Do you think they'll learn their lesson? For example, next year the World Cup semi-finals will not be at this time.
Well, they will be because let's say it's France versus Germany.
Well, get up. Get up and stay up.
The European TV companies are not going to want that to be at 2 o'clock in the morning. So it is basically done to suit television companies. We are one ourselves. That's how it works. But unfortunately for the people who are watching the games in this country, it's at difficult times. I wouldn't want to be sat in the MetLife with the sun beating down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with no cover. But that's what's happened to a lot of fans in this tournament. So it's not designed for the local supporters. Tournaments are.
We have precedent from the 1994 World Cup final, Italy against Brazil. It was played in the afternoon at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California.
Worst World Cup ever.
Huh?
Worst World Cup final ever.
Well, let's just say that it was not played at the pace that it should have been. But the only reason, and mind you, when we're talking about Pasadena, we're talking about 3 hours behind us here in the East Coast. So you're looking at 1 o'clock kickoff, 4 o'clock kickoff Eastern time, so that people in Italy can watch the game, or Europe, or whatever the case may be. That's a precedent. It's already been set. So, yeah, to answer your question, fine. Come the final of the World Cup next year, it'll be played in the afternoon.
Wow. And we've had thunder and lightning here, which is only, 2 or 3 hours away the last couple of days as well.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Add some more. Right, don't be negative.
Well, you kind of were.
No. Right. Mario, Chelsea, are they going to win the Premier League?
No, that's a big question, my friend. No, you're going too fast now. No,
I'm sorry.
I said, okay, we talking about, no, you're going a little too fast. For me, they just got over the line for the Champions League. So allow them now to make it comfortable into the Champions League. And this season, I will not say that Chelsea is being ready for the title race. No. Because I think it's a little bit too early. You saw it already. This tournament, they're building a team and trying to get everything to work perfectly. And I think during the season, we're going to see some moments are going to come back from it. And they have to make sure that they build every season has to be better than the prior one. And then after that, after this season, you ask me that question, I say, 100%. But this season, I will not give you the 100%.
Why don't you give Chelsea more respect, Mark?
Yeah.
Look at what they've done over the last 24 matches.
Such a hater.
Of course, last 2 months of the Premier League season, they fought hard to get a place in the Champions
What is
League.
it, pick on me day? Just because.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Robbo's had it last couple of days.
Chelsea, for me, I don't think they're a very good team. There's too much chaos
Look
there.
at their results.
Yeah, but I mean, they've not played anybody in this tournament.
Not in this
the one
tournament,
team they
but over
played
the
with
last 3 months, this team has taken a massive step forward from what we thought.
They got some momentum towards the end of the season and they got over the line. But let's be honest, a lot of those games were in the Conference League, which is the third tier competition by some distance. I remember watching the Man United game in the Premier League at the end of the season, and both teams were terrible. And you wouldn't know which one was 17th and which one was 6th. They were both poor, but they got it over the line, you're right. But I don't see that Chelsea team coming anywhere near the title. Those 3 teams there, I'd put Newcastle ahead of Chelsea.
Wow.
Chelsea have got a lot of talent, but you don't know what they're going to do from one day to the next. And I don't think Maresca's that great a coach either. I think that last season they were very lucky to get over the line into the Champions League, but that's me being negative again.
No, I would say Maresca's a decent coach. He knows what he wants.
Mark.
They play.
Mario's up.
They play out.
Mark, easy now, Mark. Mark, come on now, man, come on.
It's been sat with Dan, it's made me really negative.
I don't think Alexis, of course, you're going to be sat in the hot seat tomorrow. Special show coming from New York. Who are you most looking forward to working with, Ali or Robbo?
Do you know, I love me some Vamos Vino Tinto, so I can't wait to reunite with Ali. I think Robo's tired of seeing me, but
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wow.
Ali, I need some Barcelona Ali.
Wow.
Thank you.
You've gone down in my estimation, Alexis.
Thank you, Alexis.
Down in my
Thank you.
estimation.
Once
you,
again,
Alexis.
Robbo rejected.
Honesty is the best policy, Alexis.
Mario, thank you very much, Alexis. Enjoy the show. Of
Not
course,
me,
Alexis
but-
will be live
Thank you, guys.
tomorrow, reacting to that semi-final between Chelsea and Fluminense. Be sure to join them on ESPN FC. For a lot more what's been going on in the world, be sure to check out the latest edition of the Gab and Jules podcast, which is available. Oh, it's Don. It's Don's hair.
What is going on with his hair?
Every time. Be sure to check that out now. You want more negativity?
Here we go.
We'll bring it. Don't you worry about that. Here, unwanted 5. We need a bit of alliteration to it. Isn't it? Forgotten 5. Anthony
Dismiss
Gomez.
5.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody wants them. The manager doesn't want them. The club don't want them. Nobody else wants them.
I think
Who wants you, Robo?
I think
We can dismiss all 5 of them.
That made me laugh.
it's the finished 5 at Man United. That's what it is.
So what's going to happen short term here? The United have got a pre-season tour when?
A couple of weeks in the US, they're back here for the Premier League trophy.
But none of these people will be on the plane?
They won't be on the plane. So United returned to training today, and last Friday United made it clear that these 5 players would not be expected back for pre-season training today. They are still being given the opportunity to train, so they have to make sure they're not contravening any kind of union PFA situations. They have to be allowed to train, but they're not training with the first team. They're not at Carrington. They've been told to have a few more days off.
Right.
And then when United are away on tour, they'll be able to train. The idea is that it's been made clear to the players, and apparently the players have made it clear to United that they don't want to stay, and vice versa. So United are using this time to enable the players to find a club. Now, it's going to be difficult because by doing what they've done, I think United have said to all the prospective interested clubs, we don't want these players, so they were worth that yesterday, but they're worth this today because we don't want them. So if you're a club that wants to sign Marcus Rashford, Anthony, Alejandro Garnacho, you're not going to rush to do it now, are you? You're going to wait till the end of August when United are desperate. So on one hand, it's strong by United to say they're not part of the squad, Amorim doesn't want them, but on the other hand, it's kind of a little bit naive to basically damage their asking price.
You make all this, Robert. They're kind of been ostracising this, Robert. As all he says, basically, we don't want them, but we want you still to pay for them.
And it must be the manager who's saying it, because the manager doesn't want involved with the squad. He wants to make sure I'm working with these players and I don't want them messing up what I'm doing, and they're probably going to be sulking and all that sort of stuff. So the manager's doing that. But as Oggy says, it then takes away all their value, because any club coming in will say, well, you don't fancy them. You don't think they're very good. So how can you ask that sort of money? The problem that all those players will have is we're finding another club and being paid the right sort of wages. You know, Marcus Rashford, where's he going to get the money he's getting at Manchester United?
Yes.
Let's talk of Barcelona. If Barcelona have done their homework over the last 2 years, you wouldn't touch Marcus Rashford with a barge pole. You know, and you could say this. The only player that is, you can say, could be slightly hard done by is Garnacho, because...
Well, surely Anthony is the one, isn't he? You go to Real Betis, you light things up in La Liga for...
But Amorim doesn't like him. There's no place in the team for him. There's no place in his formation for him as well.
Right.
So that's why Amorim doesn't want... And they've probably had a row over that. And Amorim probably said to him at some point, I don't really fancy you as a player. I don't like your attitude. I don't. It's very difficult then to say, come back and play for me. You can't do it.
Yeah, this is like, we put them all together, but there are different stories within these 5 players.
Yeah.
And if you look at someone like Anthony, who really was excellent for Betis when he went to play in La Liga, why is he not given another chance, or is it just that's it?
Did you see him in the Conference League final against Chelsea? That was the answer that Man United got to know. He wasn't good enough against a Premier League defence. He did well in Spain against, I'd say, defences that aren't as strong as the Premier League. He lit it up. But I don't think Betis have got the money to pay for him. They could pay his wages, but they couldn't pay the fee. Right. So but Anthony rehabilitated his reputation enough last year to get a club in Liga again. It'll be a loan. A lot of these players aren't going to be sold. There's no way they can find people to take these permanently, apart from maybe Rashford. Because I know it sounds ridiculous, but United's issue there is paying him up. He's got 3 years left on a £325,000 a week contract. That's what, £40-45 million.
So where's he going to go, Bayern or Barca?
I imagine that Barcelona is an option because they failed to get Nico Williams over the line. They need cover for Rafinha and Lamine Yamal.
Yeah.
Rashford fancies the move. It's the one club that Marcus Rashford might say to United, do you know what? I'll take a pay cut to go so we can sort it out that way. So it's the perfect move for Rashford. It's the perfect move for United.
Do you think Barcelona are really interested in him, or is it Marcus Rashford's agent trying to push it towards Barcelona?
That was my initial suspicion, but there is interest in Marcus Rashford. They probably see him, they could pick him up a little bit cheaply. He's got a pedigree that has kind of been buried under whatever for the last 2 years, but he's still a player that might use that, challenge to become the player he was again. But I think he's 27 later.
If somebody goes off the boil,
yeah.
But it's his attitude that you see on the field where he looks as though he's not interested and almost throws the towel in.
And also,
you can't have that. If anybody watching that would say, we can't have him at our club, that is disgraceful behaviour.
Yeah, and also he went to Villa for 6 months and people saying, he did great at Villa. He scored 4 goals and 2 were against Preston North End. He didn't do that well.
Oh, negative.
But true. It's just a reality, isn't it? Jadon Sancho, Juventus are keen on Sancho. Again, I'm surprised at, but he'll do well to find a club because he's had a terrible 2 or 3 years, sure. Sancho. Anthony, you're right. Garnacho, somebody will pick Garnacho because he's got potential, he's young, he's still, what was Cristiano Ronaldo at that age? He was inconsistent. Now, he's not Ronaldo, but he could be a player that will be effective. And he's the one.
Does he not like Garnacho because he doesn't fit the system that Amorim plays? So there's no place for him in the system.
There's that, and I think he's frustrated by Garnacho's judgment. In the final third, his judgment is terrible. He always makes the wrong decision. I think he's tried to coach him. I think he's tried to work with him, but I don't think he's seen him develop as he wanted him to. Maybe he's been a little bit impatient there, but obviously there's been a couple of incidents. The one with the Marcus Rashford Aston Villa shirt the other week on Instagram, which is a bit naive, walking around with an Aston Villa top on. So I think Garnacho is probably... United will see that as an opportunity to get some good money in because he's a homegrown player that can use it all for PSR evaluations as pure profit. But he's not got a future under Amorim.
So if we have to wait till the end of August for these players to leave, what's going to happen in the meantime with players coming in?
Well, United hope they're not going to wait till the end of August, but I think reality is that clubs will not want to dive into these players now. They're still confident of getting Mbeumo over the line.
Right.
Brentford are holding it for a bit more. There's not a big gap between the valuations now. It's probably up to £5 million, but Brentford are holding out for that. They need to get a midfielder in. We've seen today that Monaco are keen on Andre Onana, which I think would be great news for Man United.
30 million, was it for Onana?
That's what United want.
Wow.
Which I think they'll do well to get.
Yeah.
But they like to look at Emi Martinez. So they've got options, but they do need players to go out now. But as we said, those 5 players are going to be very hard to shift. So they need to start making some moves. But they're not the only club in the Premier League, to be honest. I'll be positive here. A lot of clubs, it's not just United.
We need some sort of lightning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clubs that are terrible.
Yeah, a lot of clubs have made slow moves. So now it will get active because teams are back in pre-season training. Coaches will put pressure on the directors, sporting directors, like we've got to get players in, got to get players out now.
This has just come through. I'm not sure how much you know about this. Elanga looks like he could be on his way to Newcastle.
£55 million is the fee that...
From Forest.
Yeah, which is a big fee. He's had one good season. He had a decent season. A lot of assists last year. He made United look silly by doing so well at Forest, but apparently United get a £6 million sell-on bonus, so that'll pay Marcus Rashford's wages for 3 weeks.
There you go.
Okay. Positive.
Hey,
there it is.
Elanga, does Newcastle get you excited?
He's a good player. He's a great counter-attacking player. If Newcastle want to play on the counter-attack, he's not quite so good in tight areas, but he's a good player.
There we go. Lovely. That's positive. Transfer talk, as always. Mike, busy on transfer talk, breaking down exactly what's going on. Well, you're on holidays in the States at the moment. But others are doing work. I promise you. You can check it out on Transfer Talk. Extra time, as always, available on our YouTube channel. Today we'll have Oggy, Robbo and Ali answering your questions. Just MLS just keeps going through everything. Gold Cup, Club World Cup, don't worry, it's still happening. Seattle Sounders taking on Ali's old side, Columbus Crew, and it would be the Crew who would open the scoring here, Ali, Diego Rossi.
And it's good combination, good counter attack, vision coming from the left-hand side, and a nice finish on Diego Rossi.
In the end, though, this one would finish 1 apiece. The equaliser coming just before the break. Paul Rothrock with the goal.
Yeah, it did well, just to pass it into the near post, deceive the goalkeeper, good finish.
So 1-1 then is how it finishes. Taking a look at how things stand in the West, it's San Diego who's sitting top, 1 clear of Vancouver Whitecaps, who do have a game in hand. Shall we look at the Eastern Conference as well?
Sure, why not?
There it is. FC Cincinnati sit top. Very tight though, isn't it? Between the top 4, just 4 points separate Cincinnati, Nashville, Philadelphia, and the Columbus Crew. Football W will, of course, return on Tuesday. So much to talk about, of course, with the Euros very much underway in Switzerland. That'll be live tomorrow night on ESPN+.
Here we go.
One last thing before we go is Mr. Moreno's birthday. Tomorrow, Ali? Is that correct?
Tomorrow is my birthday.
However, we thought we would surprise you with the cake today.
Okay, so there's no cake tomorrow?
And that's no, there's not.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Thank you very
Well
much.
then.
Look at this.
Well then.
Service.
Well then, indeed.
There we go. Oh, shall I get the chopper thing? What's it called?
Huh? What? Vamos, Venezuela!
Let me get the.
Thank you very much.
I once asked you on air, where did you come from? Now I know.
Yes,
Venezuela.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Look, this has been
Appreciate
here for
it. Thank you.
ages. I mean,
Thank you. Hey, Jack, thank you.
oh, Jack's back.
Yeah, you put
Hey,
it.
Jack.
Did you put it together?
Oh, Jack's so
Did
happy.
you put it together? Who put this together?
It'd be good if you could get that off.
It's a group effort.
It's all right, it's going to happen.
Oh, yes.
It'll be his next birthday by the time we get
Wait a minute.
I'll have to cut it with one of these.
That's all right, got it. There we go. Oh, you are beautiful, Ali.
Yes.
How many candles?
That's a lot of Venezuela right there.
How old are you, Ali?
I am 46 years old, Dan.
There we go.
I'm feeling great. Feeling great.
There we go.
Not one of us said you look good for your age.
No, I was expecting a little more, but no.
No, you didn't get it, did you?
That's
really?
all right.
You do look very good for your age.
Thank you. Coming from Robbo. Hey, well, that's all right. That's all right. I'll take it, Stewie.
I'm 92.
Well, yeah, you act like it. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time.
Okay.
We've got kind of the opposites today. We're celebrating Ali's birthday,
Yes.
and Mark's here. Balances it all out. Where should we start? Mark, how are you? You're here for the Club World Cup.
I'm very good, thanks.
How's your experience been?
I've enjoyed it so far,
Good.
more than you have.
Well, no, don't put me in that bracket. Let's not start there. It's been very good. And Ali, it's your birthday tomorrow.
Yes, it is.
Do you think someone got your day wrong, or why are you getting it today?
I'm not quite sure. Maybe because I'm going to New York tomorrow to do the shows from New York. Maybe they don't have cake in New York. I don't know.
When you think of New York, you think
No, they probably don't have cake in New York. We got it here.
No, is the soccer ball edible?
I don't believe so. No, Dan. And,
Oh, okay.
And,
All right. Well, just
no,
try.
And it doesn't collapse either, like Shaka.
No, like Shaka's one.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, first question is to you, Mark. A lot of negativity towards the questions that are towards you for some reason.
You know, I'm not negative. It's all part of a front anyway.
Mark, in the last 10 years, you've never actually liked a United manager. From all the reports you've made, given a choice, who's a manager you die on a hill for?
Of the United managers?
Well, let's go start there, yeah. Who's been your favourite? So Alex Ferguson hated you.
Yeah, we'll discount Sir Alex.
He banned you from the club.
Okay. Well, that's an old story with cobwebs on it. But
Right, yeah, there we go. It's like Robbo's got banned from Arsenal as well. Robbo's the only former player that's been banned from his old club.
I'll tell you what,
You just give me your play there, Robbo.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I'll go for Ruben Amorim because I still think he can turn it around. He needs to maybe be a bit more pragmatic with his tactical, what's the word? Stubbornness.
Right, okay.
But I think he could be the guy that makes them better. I think they've had a few different choices. But I think Amorim could be a guy that brings something approaching success back to Man United.
Of all the managers in the world, who is the one that you would choose to come in to save Manchester United?
Well,
There's far more.
there are two that you would take, and neither would take the job: Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola.
Right, they're your two.
They're the two, absolutely.
Can the guys read the advanced stats on Zubimendi? What they said about him yesterday, like he doesn't do enough aggressive passes forward, is completely the opposite of what all the advanced stats say. Robbo, you were on yesterday, you were part of that discussion.
Well, I don't know where they get the stats from because, as I said, I've watched him a lot and commentated on him. And because I've always said this to my commentator, he doesn't pass it forward. I make little notes. How many times does he pass it forward? Very few. I bet he hasn't got many assists at all.
Wow, but this person here says that you're wrong. Because
they said I was wrong about Jorginho when he went to Chelsea as well.
Take that.
And said, he was always a forward passer. He's another player that passed it square and backwards for so long. He got better as time went on.
Okay.
But Zubimendi is a nice player who passes it square and backwards. Not really penetrative with his passing. I hope I'm wrong.
I agree with that. I've seen a bit of. I agree. I think he needs to kind of add that to his game. I think he's very safe at the moment at Sociedad.
Ali, what do you think?
What's that?
Why aren't you having any cake? It's yours.
I am having cake. I'm just gonna make a space in my plate here.
Do you like Zubimendi? That was the question.
Yeah. Sure.
There we go. Perfect. Right. While Vinny, Bellingham are adapting.
I got more important things to think about, Dan.
Robbo, while Vinny and Bellingham are adapting, is Mbappe's Alonso's greatest challenge yet in terms of getting him to play to the system?
I don't know what's different about the system. I mean, there's a lot of rotation. There's a lot of rotation under Ancelotti. I think Xavi Alonso will make him be more disciplined in what he does. He won't just say to him, you can go here, there and everywhere. I don't think he should have any problems. I think they will play with almost two up front, Vinny Jr. through an inside left position,
right?
Mbappe almost through the middle, as Gonzalo Garcia has been playing, and Bellingham will play in the number 10 role. That's how I see them playing.
Okay.
And there's no problem with that.
Sweet, man. Mark, given how Ratcliffe ran his teams in Switzerland and France, do you think the whole idea that he was going to save Manchester United from the Glazers was blown out of proportion?
Probably, yeah. I think United fans are so desperate for somebody to come in and change the narrative that they were hoping that Ratcliffe would do it. And he said the right things, he did the right things. He brought in so-called experts to do their jobs.
He brought in the cycling man, but
most
he didn't
have left.
Dave
Brailsford's gone, Dan Ashworth's come and gone.
Right.
He gave Ten Hag a new contract and he went.
Yes.
So I think Jim Ratcliffe is good at, biochemicals, whatever it is, but he's not so good at football.
It's only Jason Wilcox that's left now, isn't it, from that team?
Yeah, Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada, so there's big pressure on those to actually deliver.
Robbo, play, bench or sell from your back-in-the-day contemporary English midfield generals?
Well, you have to tell me who they are first.
I was going to.
You looked at me as if I was going to give an answer.
He's building the drama, Romo.
See, in weird mood at the moment, Romo. I know what's wrong with him.
Is it because you're going to New York tomorrow?
It's a bit scary.
Well, Alexis says she doesn't want me there, so I'm a bit sceptical.
Peter Reid, Brian Robson, Ray Wilkins.
Oh, without doubt, the player that you'd have in the team would be Brian Robson. He was the true midfield player. Right. Score goals, defend, aggressive, tackle, did everything right. The next one would be, and I'm going to go with Butch Wilkins. Mm-hmm. No longer with us. He was an excellent passer of the ball, great character, as friendly as you could possibly have as an opponent. And when I got in the England squad, he was the first player to put an arm around you and say, come on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was a top man. And I liked him as a footballer. He did a lot for Chelsea, he did a lot for Manchester United. And Peter Reid was also a good player, but he would have to be the one I would drop.
Who didn't put an arm around you? Who looked at you?
I tell you, he was a presenter.
Gary Lineker?
Yeah. Who?
Wow.
Were you surprised by that?
I don't know. I don't know the man.
Did Butch Wilkins play in Italy?
He did. He played for Sampdoria, he played for AC Milan.
There you go.
I think he had a great spell at AC.
So why did Gary Lineker hate you?
I don't really hate you. I think he hated everybody. He was at Barcelona at the time, came back and was very aloof.
Oh.
I used to think Brian Robson was Stuart Robson's brother.
Did you?
Yeah, back in the day, yeah.
Oh, little Roggy growing up. Yeah. Oh, lovely. Okay, considering the impact that Musiala's injury will have on Bayern's season, Ali, will European clubs think twice about competing in a future Club World Cup, or is the money just too good to pass up?
Well, I think we touched upon it following that match, that if you're looking for reasons not to have this tournament, this is Exhibit A. And while, again, as we had in our discussion, we mentioned that this could have happened in a training session or a random game against Mainz in Bundesliga, it happened in a showpiece event, and the showpiece event being that match against PSG. And so a lot of eyes got to see that dangling leg of Jamal Musiala, and it's the lasting image. And so, yeah, there is no doubt in my mind that people that are detractors of this tournament would think, you know what, this is why we shouldn't be playing, because this wouldn't be happening to Jamal Musiala if he were sitting on a beach somewhere. The truth is that I don't know that we're going to see the true effects of the Club World Cup on the fitness levels of the players up until we get in a more advanced stage in the domestic seasons. But how are you going to quantify that? How are you going to draw a specific sort of line or direct line from, oh, he got injured because he played in the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
And by then it's too late. But there will be an impact, and teams are going to suffer because of it. And eventually, I think you just have too much going on in the schedule. And it's going to have to come from the players, because the players are the valuable assets here. And they're the ones that are going to have to stand up for themselves and say, I don't care how much the money is, we cannot play this tournament. And it's going to have to come from the European players, because the South American players are like, vamos, vamos. We want to play every day, because they're playing for money that is beyond what they see on a day-to-day basis.
And it puts those players in a shop window as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, some people making this argument about, well, the excitement of the South American teams and this and that. Yeah, of course. And I'm from South America, and I would tell you that, of course, it's exciting to get the opportunity to play the European teams and show your level and showcase what kind of team you are. But at the core of it is a lot of these players showing themselves to the world in a window that was not available before. That was not there for them. Now it is.
Ali, do you think Barcelona has the depth to go and compete for everything next season?
I don't think depth was a problem this season. You could argue that maybe in the back line they could have done with another.
Well, they won the Copa del Rey.
Yes.
Semi-finals of the Champions League.
Correct.
Won La Liga.
Yes. So again, I must think that Barcelona looks back as to how they were eliminated from Champions League, and they must be asking themselves, how in the world are we not in the final playing against PSG?
They've also got a clear summer as well, so Real, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Man City will all be kind of working
always with the positive notes.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm negative not on your blue teeth as well.
Yeah, and your blue.
There's a lot of
I like it.
There's a lot of colour there. But Barcelona and Liverpool, I think, will benefit from not being at this tournament this year.
Final question. Robbo.
Yes.
Oh, no, it's your arch nemesis. I recently saw a video of Arsene Wenger explaining why 4-4-2 is the best overall formation. What are each of your preferred formations and why? When you were coaching, Robbo, what was your go-to?
Well, when I played and then when I was coaching, it was always 4-4-2. Everybody played 4-4-2.
Right.
And there was only one or two managers that tried to do something slightly different. I understand what people like about 4-4-2, but I always go back to a coach that I worked under, and probably the best coach, John Cartwright. And he said, you need players to cover the pitch with as little effort as possible. So the system that covers the pitch with as little effort as possible is 3-4-3, because the wing backs are starting in the middle. They're not starting too deep, so they don't have to try and get high up the field. They're playing in the middle, so they don't have to recover and go forward quite so much. There's three defenders that can come across the pitch, and there's three attackers. That's the system that covers the pitch the best.
What do you prefer playing in?
I would actually go with that system now. If I was a coach now, I'd go with that system for that very reason. But also, I think you can get the front players to link up with each other. As I say, the wing backs are in a decent position.
So do you think Amarin's right then? Because Amarin plays 3-4-3.
Yeah, but he doesn't play it very well. It's nothing to do with the system with Amarin. His philosophy is wrong. You know, the system, you can have a great system. It's still the philosophy, how you play within that system. And that's what I don't understand about Amarin. He hasn't got his... You know, they play it from the back, they play too negative, it goes to the wing back, who then passes it back to the full back or the right-sided centre back, who goes back to the goalkeeper. Then they go long when there's no players. It's rubbish.
What did you prefer, Ali? Which system?
Well, I'm old school 4-4-2. I like that, but I think if I were managing a team, and of course it depends on the players that I have available, I would go with a 4-2-3-1. And the reason, and that actually easily becomes a 4-4-2 if the underneath player and the middle player in that three actually joins in the attack. But the reason I would like a 4-2-3-1 is because I get balance through the two holding midfielders. I get variety from the players on the outside that have the freedom and have to have the intelligence to know when to tuck inside and when to go and play in wide areas. And as they tuck inside, then it allows my outside backs to get up and down the flank when the opportunity presents itself. And it still allows the team to have a shape to defend well if you turn the ball over in a bad area. That's what I would go for if I were managing the team.
are you going to do for your birthday, Ali? Tomorrow you're in New York with him.
Well, I'm going to be with Stewie.
What a treat. What a treat.
Who better?
I mean, wow.
Who better?
Yeah.
I'll be with Stewie, Alexis. I imagine that after we do the show, maybe we'll go out to dinner. It's going to be amazing.
I think Shaka might be going. You're going to be there as well?
No invite for me. I'm in New York as well, but, you know, I'll just...
All right.
Yeah, you can come. You'll put a dampener on it.
It's going to rain as well.
If you want to ruin my birthday, Mark, sure.
Thank you very much. Happy birthday to you, Ali. Just a reminder, ESPN FC with you tomorrow to reflect on that first semi-final of the Club World Cup.